Here is my story. My wife and I were married for only a year, and some months before we divorced. Bella and I met at a restaurant, where I had gone to have dinner one evening. She was sitting at a table alone, while waiting for her plus one, who never showed up, and I thought of keeping her company. Though she wasn't in her best mood, when we met, we had a nice conversation. After weeks of occasionally talking on Facebook, we had our first date, and everything from there was happily ever after. We married after a year of dating, and I earnestly believed Belle would be the last woman I would date. I was tired of going through the cycle of talking with different women who would cheat on me. We were almost like the perfect couple, and there was absolutely nothing wrong in our relationship. We treated each other with love and respected each other. Belle and I were both hardworking, and I loved her because she was career-focused and did everything she could to earn more. Unlike Belle, who was a full-time remote worker, I only stayed home on my day off. And I barely took days off because something always came up at work. My work demanded that I travel from place to work for our clients. Even with my busy schedule, I did my best to spend time with Belle. I had great plans for us, and with her collaboration, I knew we could have a beautiful and memorable future if I continued working so hard. I wasn't so pleased with my busy schedule because I missed spending time with Belle, and I didn't like it when she complained about my absence too much. To make up for always being away, I would buy her beautiful gifts. Also, I didn't wait for us to have special occasions before I took her to a fancy dinner or mini vacation. The sweet thing about Belle was, she always knew how to reciprocate or make me feel loved too. There was a time when I returned from a week of working in another state, and Belle paid for a massage session and gifted me the latest release of Jordan sneakers. Aside from that gift, she cooked special meals, set up her home table for romantic dinners, and did other things. Because of Belle, I always looked forward to going home. But one day, I went home without informing her in advance, and our marriage took a different direction after that day. Usually each time I return from a trip out of town, I tell Belle in advance so she could prepare for me or cook something. But that day, I dropped by her favorite restaurant and grabbed some takeout for us and a bottle of red wine. I wanted to be a pleasant surprise for her, but I ended up being the surprised one. When I got to our house, I pulled over in the driveway as usual and walked into the house with the stuff I got. As soon as I entered, I noticed Belle was half-dressed, flustered and sweaty. The kind of sweat that showed she was doing very hard labor. She was already acting all edgy, and when I asked her what was wrong, she said she acted that way because. And she was sweaty and almost half-naked because of the summer sun. That felt very suspicious, but I almost believed her lying because it didn't even cross my mind that she could bring her affair partner to our house. As we were conversing about my trip and how I had to come home earlier than expected, I heard our backyard sensor go off. I wanted to look at the security cameras to see what was happening, but Belle tried to stop me. She said it was probably nothing, and I shouldn't worry because the sensor had gone off 3 times already that day. That was odd, coming from Belle, because in the past, even if I wanted to sit in front of the computer and look at the security cameras all day, Belle never complained or tried to stop me. So she literally ratted herself out when she tried to stop me from looking at the cameras. I actually ignored her and then looked at the security camera, and I saw our 2 dogs attacking a man in my backyard. I was shocked to see him, and Belle pretended to be surprised. She said he had broken into our house, and she was trying to catch him when I came home, and she didn't want to tell me so I wouldn't yell at her for not locking the doors. As much as that lie sound believable, my guts told me something was wrong. I told her we should call the police, and as soon as I said that, she kicked against the idea. She said we shouldn't get the police involved, or we would have to pay for our dogs attacking the man in the backyard. I was getting mad at this point, so I called the police and reported that someone was trespassing on our property. Shortly after the police arrived, I called the dogs off him, and Belle's AP came out of the place he squeezed himself into. He had sustained injuries, and told the police our dogs attacked him. When he said that, I told the police he had trespassed on our property, and that's why he got attacked. Belle's AP overheard me, and he started shouting that he had come to spend quality time with Belle, and that he was with Belle the previous night. It turned out that Bella was having an affair with him, and he met him from the book club she belonged to. When he said that, Belle was horrified. She tried to shut him up in my presence, but the guy kept yelling and said he didn't want to be charged for trespassing. When Belle invited him, that wasn't all. His affair with Belle had been going on for a while, and that wasn't his first time sleeping over. After her secret was exposed, Belle was so embarrassed because our nosy neighbors had come out to listen to everything. Words cannot express how I felt when I found that the woman I was planning my forever with was doing another man in my own house. After the police left, I went inside the house and threw out her stuff. Out of anger, I retrieved most of the things I bought for her and set them ablaze. The neighbors were still there, and they watched as I publicly humiliated her. I threw out our wedding portraits and other things that reminded me of our union. She was even shameless to keep begging me to let her explain. She said she only invited him over so they could read a book together, and nothing was happening between her and her AP. I knew they were all lies, and didn't listen to her. By the time I was done dumping her stuff outside, she had to call her younger sister to come and pick her. I also left the house that day to clear my head. I went to my best friend's house, and after I had put myself together, I contacted a divorce lawyer to start preparing our divorce papers. In my life I had never experienced that level of betrayal. She shattered me completely and destroyed the possibility of me ever loving or trusting a woman again. For nights the memories haunted me, and the memories took its mental toll on me. Even after we divorced, I was still a shadow of myself, and it took me a long time to heal and forget about her. Even though 2 years have passed, I still feel that the next woman I might end up with will cheat on me again. Because of this, I keep shutting out or hurting every woman that comes my way. Anyway, I know it will take time for me to heal, and until that happens, I will focus more on working and earning more for the comfort of my future op. It's funny how dumb your wife thought you were. What man would believe that his wife brought in a man to sleep in his house overnight so they could read a book together? This is both hilarious and stupid. There's a possibility that the next woman you open up to might cheat on you. And there's also a possibility she might not. You just need to take your time and not rush into anything. I love that you're focusing more on working and earning more money. It might take a while to forget about everything, but don't let that ruin your chances of being happy and experiencing genuine love. I wish you all the best now. Let's move on to the next story of the day. I, 27 male, was married to my ex-wife, 24 female, for almost 2 years before I found out she wasn't as faithful as she claimed. My wife and I met at the beach on a summer afternoon, and we had a fantastic time together. She had come with a group of male and female college friends. They were all law students, but they decided to take a little break from school. I was also with a few friends, so some of us interacted with my wife and her friends, and we got along well. While other people's conversations ended that day after we left the beach toward different destinations, my wife and I exchanged numbers and kept talking occasionally. Shortly after we met, we started dating and married 2 years later. Before my wife and I married, our relationship was not smooth. My wife came from a well-to-do background, and her parents gave us a very tough time. They were against my wife dating someone like me, and they told her she would be making a grave mistake if she ended up with me. They said so because I worked 12 hours a day, had 2 different jobs, and couldn't get a good paying job, no matter how hard I tried. Her parents were a pain in the ass, but because we loved each other, we found to get married, with or without her parents' approval. After months of her parents trying to separate us, they stopped and accepted our relationship. With her parents out of our way, I expected we would not have any other issues, but I had no idea more was coming. 2 months before we married, my wife cheated on me with one of her classmates and confessed to me. She said it happened by mistake, and the guilt had been eating her up. Meanwhile, I had noticed during the time she claimed it happened that she was always looking sad and somehow depressed, and each time I questioned her to find out what was bothering her, she would say she was okay. When she confessed that she had cheated on me with her classmate and couldn't explain how it happened, I forgave her. Now that I share my story, I regret making such a mistake and wish I was smarter. I believe she wouldn't do it again, because I felt if she came clean by herself and didn't wait for me to find out, then she was genuinely sorry. This was very hard on me. But because I was young, stupid, and in love, I forgave her and she promised it would never happen again. We continued with our wedding and were married for almost 2 years. Though we never discussed her escapade with her classmate again and never left my head. I remembered her confession every day, but I never mentioned it or talked about it. I tried my best to let it remain in the past because she had moved on, and she was trying her best to be my perfect wife. She was extremely nice to me, pampered me, and treated me like the only man in the world. I don't know if it was her way of saying sorry for what she had done, but, irrespective of everything she did, each time I looked at her, I wondered if she was still sleeping with him behind me. It gone to the point where I began to feel bad, because I thought I was still holding on to the past and I wasn't enjoying our marriage like I should have. It took me a whole year after we married to forcefully put everything behind me and go with the flow. I knew I had not cared for her like I had initially planned from the beginning of our relationship. So I started making little effort, like making breakfast in bed for her and fixing dinner for us before she returned from work. My ultimate plan was to do something very special for us on our 2nd anniversary, and I looked forward to it. Eventually the day of our 2nd anniversary reached, and I made all the preparations to sweep her off her feet and at least make up for the times I didn't treat her right. I even got a costly gift, the dress she would wear, and accessories to go with it. I went home early that day from work and waited hours for her to return. When she didn't return home like I expected, I called her to ask why, and she said one of her professors fixed an impromptu class, and she couldn't miss it because attending the class came with a score. I felt disappointed when I heard that, but didn't try to argue. I expected that, since it was our wedding anniversary, she wouldn't want to miss a special occasion like that. I can't explain why, but that feeling of her doing something behind me crept up again, and I couldn't shake it off this time. To be at peace with myself, I decided to check her Snapchat location, and it was different from the location she schooled at. I didn't believe it at first, but after checking thrice, I realized my wife had been lying to me again. I went to the location without wasting time, and it rang a bell. It was the same apartment her classmate, whom she slept with before we married, lived in. I'd lie if I said I could explain how I felt that evening. Being heartbroken or disappointed would not describe it enough. I wanted to storm into the apartment and attack her, but I had a better idea. I called her proud parents to come over to the apartment so we could surprise her for our anniversary. I knew they would come because they would do anything for their only child. Not long after I called her, parents arrived, and we went to the apartment to say surprise. As soon as we knocked on the door, and her lover came to open, her parents saw her walking totally naked inside the house. Her father yelled her name and her mother pushed her AP aside and charged in. I'd love to say that everything was disastrous that evening. She didn't know if she was begging me or her parents. I watched her as mother screamed and questioned her, and her father stood there in shock after she covered herself with the sheets. I didn't say much. I only told her it was over between us and that her cheating on me again was my fault. She didn't understand, and I didn't bother explaining. I don't know what happened between her and her parents after I left. She came home later that week and asked if we could talk. When I said no, she picked the things she needed and left the house. She didn't even press for me to let her explain. I didn't know what to think or soon when she acted that way. Before she came home to take her stuff, I already contacted a divorce lawyer, and when the papers were ready, she signed them without hesitation. Until today, I still wonder if she ever loved me like she claimed, or was only enjoying the tussle of power with her parents. The last time I tried stalking her on Facebook, she posted a picture of her and her AP with a mushy caption. I was so angry, and I blocked her instantly. Because of that picture, I quit sulking and wondered if she loved me. I saw how happy she was, and I felt stupid for still living in the past and putting my life on hold. I am fine now and have moved on faster than expected. I also realized that we have power over our emotions, and feeling miserable because of a cheating spouse should never be an option. I no longer care about her. All I care about now is me and my future op. It's unfortunate that your ex-wife was playing with your emotions. I don't think she loved you or valued what you both had. If she did, she would not have ditched your 2nd anniversary to be with the same person she cheated on. No one deserves to go through the emotional roller coaster you did. It was even very smart of you to move on faster after you saw her happy Facebook post. Don't worry. Her karma will come when she least expects it. Keep focusing on you and your future. That's the most important thing. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care.